So I can see participants coming in.
Бачу, що в нас вже з'являються перші учасники.
So I'm still waiting until we have a more or less stable number.
Почекаємо, поки в нас не буде якесь таке зрозуміле число.
So we still wait a couple of minutes.
Може, ще хвилинку почекаємо.
So we're almost at 100 now.
У нас вже майже 100 учасників і учасниць.
And I think this is the moment when I will start. So
Думаю,
very good welcome to everybody. Good morning.
Доброго ранку
to our joint event, current situation of Ukrainian libraries and librarians, collaboration, cooperation and support.
Дуже раді вітати вас на зустрічі бібліотекарів, тобто на зустрічі українських, німецьких бібліотек для відчуття підтримки, для...
My name is Barbara Schleihagen. I'm the executive director of the German Library Association and your moderator today. We are very grateful. I'm sorry, there was please start again, Dana.
I think I had a problem with internet because I can't hear anyone, and it was a total disaster.
That doesn't matter. Maybe you could just join us now again, and I will continue. I'm just giving a few words of introduction.
All right, yes.
We are very grateful to the Ukrainian Library Association and the Goethe-Institut for suggesting this event and for the excellent cooperation.
Ми дуже вдячні Українській бібліотечній асоціації та Goethe-Institutu за те, що вони уможливили цю зустріч, і також за успішну співпрацю.
This event will be recorded for future use. However, participants will not be seen or heard.
Цю зустріч ми запишемо, щоб її можна було використовувати, переглядати в майбутньому, але нікого з учасників не буде видно, не буде чути, тому все конфіденційно.
And if you wish to raise a question, you can use the chat function.
Якщо ви хочете задати якесь питання, ви можете написати його в чаті.
Time is set aside after the presentations of all our speakers so that we can ask these questions then to the speakers.
На питання будемо відповідати після того, як всі наші мовці-спікери виступлять, для того, щоб ми могли відповісти на всі питання одразу.
And at that moment, I wish to welcome Darina Melashenko, who will assist us with questions in the chat where this is needed.
Наразі хочу вам представити нашу перекладачку Дарину Мелашенко. Це я буду допомагати з запитаннями в чаті, якщо буде в тому потреба.
And she will translate and answer bilaterally from Ukraine to English and backwards. And as you can see now, she will also help if needed with any other short translations.
Буде перекладати запитання і відповіді на запитання, тобто все, що буде незрозуміло, і в ході цієї зустрічі допомагатиме з короткими перекладами.
Okay, and I would like to thank the Goethe-Institut for contacting her and for arranging this.
І дуже дякую Goethe-Institutu за те, що її знайшли і таку допомогу для нас організували.
But now I would like to pass on to Professor Dr. Andreas Deckwitz. He's the director of the University Library of the Humboldt University in Berlin, and he will do the official welcome. Andreas, the floor is yours.
Зараз передам слово пану професору доктору Андреасу Деквіцу, який є директором університетської бібліотеки університету Гумбольта у Берліні, і передаю йому слово.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Welcome, dear colleagues from the Ukrainian libraries. It is very nice to see you, and I hope that you are well as far as possible under the circumstances you are living actually.
Дуже дякую Барбарі і вітаю всіх українських колег, наших колег-бібліотекарів, які доєдналися до цієї зустрічі. Я дуже радий, що ви сьогодні з нами тут, і я сподіваюся, що ви в безпеці і у вас все гаразд, наскільки це можливо за наших обставин.
My name is Andreas Deckwitz. I am the former chair of the German Library Association. In the beginning of May, I overhand this role to my successor. Until the April 30, I have been chair of the Library Association, and this meeting has been very organized, very short timed, and from that, I'm very happy to join it.
До 30 квітня я був головою Німецької бібліотечної асоціації. Зараз я передав цю роль іншій людині. Цю зустріч ми змогли організувати в досить короткі строки, і я радий, що це можливо.
We know each other since many years. You have visited Berlin and the Humboldt University and other big libraries in Berlin some years ago. And I have visited Kiev, and the reason was an event at the Sikorsky University. And it was very interesting in your city, in your capital. But you remember, Oksana, that I've been a little bit sick, and I get better since I had drunken some glasses of vodka. This was a big help that we did this together.
У нас є історія співпраці вже. Наші українські колеги були в Берліні, в тому числі відвідували бібліотеку університету Гумбольдта. І так само я їздив до України, був у Києві, відвідував бібліотеку Київського політехнічного інституту імені Сікорського. І якщо ви пам'ятаєте, Оксано, я тоді був трохи не здужав, і тому мені дуже допомогло лікування кількома стопками горілки.
We have a very good and a very fruitful partnership, and we are in touch since the attack on your country in the end of this February. And it was very good that we have this contact because we are informed about your situation, which is necessary for you and very, very helpful for us that we can help you.
У нас дуже хороше і дуже стабільне партнерство. Ми вийшли на зв'язок, щойно сталася ця ситуація, щойно почалася повномасштабна війна в кінці лютого. І це велика перевага, думаю, як для вас, так і для нас, тому що ми раді, що ми можемо допомогти.
We learned about the horrible and disastrous situation of your country and your libraries after the Russian attack, and now in these war times this takes about 3 months.
Ми дізналися про жахливу ситуацію в вашій країні, яка триває вже майже 3 місяці, про атаку Росії, про напад на вільну українську державу. І про небезпеку, в якій опинилися українці та українські бібліотеки.
Pretty soon, after the Russian attacks, the German Library Association demonstrated solidarity with you and your country by our public statement that you probably know.
Якщо ви, напевно, знаєте це, Німецька бібліотечна асоціація незадовго після початку війни, вона проголосила солідарність з Україною, опублікувавши певне звернення.
We try to support you and to help you as far as we can. And the big national libraries in our country are able to do that. I assume that Mr. Hamann will tell you more about this support that you can get from German libraries.
Ми намагаємося вам допомогти настільки, наскільки можемо. Я думаю, що пан Харман розкаже більше про цю підтримку, яку надають великі німецькі бібліотеки.
I thank all the colleagues who are involved in the organization of this meeting very, very much. It is very important that we are in contact and that we know about each other. I thank Barbara from the German Library Association. I thank Samira from the Goethe-Institut, and I thank Oksana as president of the Ukrainian Library Association and all the other colleagues who did that.
Я дякую пані Барбарі, пані Оксані і пані Замірі, а також усім іншим колегам, які доклали руку до того, щоб організувати цю зустріч, тому що це дуже важливо зараз залишатися в контакті і залишатися на зв'язку і для того, щоб уможливити допомогу і підтримку.
We will hear about the situation of the Ukrainian libraries. That means in detail the National Library, the public libraries, the academic libraries. This will be very interesting. These libraries now under the circumstances of wartime. And of course,
трохи вже чули про ситуацію бібліотек в Україні, як наукових бібліотек, так і різних академічних бібліотек, міських, державних і так далі.
Of course, we will continue our support and our help, but we hope at most that this war will come to an end, because this is the best solution of this situation that we have now. This is my biggest hope.
І, звичайно, ми продовжимо надавати підтримку. Втім, я гадаю, що найкращим рішенням і найбільшою допомогою було б завершення цієї війни, і це моя найбільша надія. Покладаю великі надії на те, що війна скоро скінчиться.
Thank you very much that you joined this meeting and have a good time with us for the next 2.5 hours.
Дуже дякую за те, що доєдналися до нас, і я бажаю вам приємно, наскільки це можливо, провести час на цій зустрічі.
Thank you very much, Andreas. I would like to invite now Samira Sara from the Goethe-Institut to say a few words of welcome.
Дуже дякую. Зараз запрошу до слова пану Саміру Цару з Goethe-Institutu України.
Доброго ранку, guten Morgen, good morning. Dear colleagues in Germany, dear colleagues in Ukraine, and of course, dear colleagues who had to flee their home country to search for shelter.
Дорогі колеги, які знаходяться в Україні, колеги, які знаходяться в Німеччині, а також усі, хто був змушений залишити домівки і для того, щоб шукати прихистку де-інде, звертаюсь до вас, вітаю вас.
My name is Samira Zahra. I'm the head of the library at the Goethe-Institut Ukraine, and now I'm not in Ukraine, I'm in Berlin.
Мене звати Саміра Захра, я голова Goethe-Інституту в Україні, але зараз я знаходжуся не в Україні, я у Берліні.
I welcome you all to this exchange for professionals, and of course we hope to contribute within this event to understand each other more and to support each other more and to see where we can help each other and in building a network and to serve people, whether they are in Ukraine or became refugees.
Я рада запросити вас на цю зустріч і сподіваюся, що вона стане успішним взаємообміном, де кожен зможе зробити якийсь внесок, кожен зможе допомогти, в тому числі, можливо, якось допомогти українським біженцям.
The Goethe-Institut exists already in Ukraine for about 30 years, and throughout these years we were able to build a network of libraries that we work together in cooperation, and altogether we have now a library network of 17 libraries, and out of these 17 libraries 14 work even under war.
Goethe-Інститут в Україні існує вже більше як 30 років. У нас досить потужна мережа, і ця мережа активно співпрацює, тобто різні її частини співпрацюють між собою. У нас є близько 70 бібліотек в цій мережі, і наразі 14 з них працюють навіть за воєнних умов.
These partner libraries are public spaces where people can get access to German literature, German language books, and many times they are linked to our German language centers, and people can learn German there.
Бібліотеки – це такі публічні відкриті установи, які надають можливість читати німецьку літературу, тобто уможливлюють доступ до цієї літератури для українського читача, і часто вони виступають в парі з центрами вивчення німецької мови.
And these libraries, of course, offer a diversity of events for children, youth, and adults, and are very important bridges between our cultures.
Ці бібліотеки, вони організовують низку різноманітних заходів, як для дорослих людей, так і для дітей, для підлітків. І ці бібліотеки надають можливість побудувати такий культурний міст між Україною та Німеччиною.
Together with the Ukrainian Library Association, We support the professional exchange for librarians and organize trainings.
Разом з Українською асоціацією бібліотекарів ми підтримуємо професійний взаємообмін і організовуємо тренінги.
I thank our Ukrainian partners for all the trust we built together all over the years and the stability. And of course, I thank also the German Library Association for their support and help. And I think it's a very good opportunity today to reflect together how we can support each other and work in the future. And I wish you very much a very good exchange. And yeah, може дякую.
Я дякую нашим українським колегам за їхню активну і стабільну співпрацю. Дякую також німецьким колегам, Німецькій асоціації бібліотек. І я сподіваюся, що ця зустріч дасть вам якусь допомогу, підтримку, надію на майбутню співпрацю.
Thank you, Samira. Our first speaker today is Oksana Bruy. She's the president of the Ukrainian Library Association, and she's also the director of the Scientific and Technical Library of Igor Sikorsky Kyiv Biblioteks-Institut. And she will talk about the key activities of Ukrainian libraries in wartime. Oksana, the floor is yours.
Нашою першою спікеркою буде Оксана Бруй. Вона є президенткою Української бібліотечної асоціації, а також є головою бібліотеки Київського політехнічного інституту імені Сікорського. I think I will stop translation at this point and just give words to Оксана. Зараз переклад закінчується такою адміністративної частини, і Оксана буде виступати теж англійською. Сподіваюся, все буде зрозуміло. Якщо ні, пишіть у чат. Слово надається пані Оксані.
I'm sorry. Hello everyone. Guten Morgen. Dear friends, I'm glad to see you today. And first of all, I want to thank you for your support. Vielen Dank. I want to thank German Library Association, thank you Andrea, thank you Barbara, thank you Goethe-Institut, thank you Samira, and thank you Yaroslava Soshinska. And I want to thank you all speakers and all Ukrainian librarians for their hard work now. Дорогі колеги українські, які тут є, я рада так само всіх вас вітати і дуже вдячна за те, що ми спільно зараз всі разом робимо для нашої країни. We greatly appreciate the support of the German government, German people, and German librarians. And I think it's important that more people get the true information about Ukraine and this war firsthand. I'm sharing my ecran. Until February 24, we all lived in our daily worries, personal and professional. Ukrainian librarians, activists of the Ukrainian Library Association were concerned about how to organize the School of Young Librarians to protect all participants from COVID infection. We have planned a new project on digital education together with UNDP to hold the conference on library education in March, the next anti-school of university librarians, and even the Biblioforum in Lviv in September. The war was somewhere far away for most of us. Also, Ukraine has been at war with Russia for 8 years. On February 24, we all woke up in another world. Russia started a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This war is not only with Ukraine, but with the whole civilized world. Today, Ukraine is fighting not only for our independence and for the future of our children, but today, Ukraine is fighting for the future of Europe and the future of the world. Millions of refugees have been forced to go away from their homes. Thousands of destroyed buildings, hospitals, universities, museums, libraries, lost cultural values. Once thriving cities became ashes. Torture, marauding, rape, mass graves of civilians, thousands of lives lost. Today, Kharkiv, Bucha, Borodyanka, Mariupol ache in heart of every Ukrainian. Today, each of us is from Bucha and from Mariupol. War crimes, crimes against humanity in the genocide of Ukrainians are what Ruski Mir brought to our land. In the picture, there are Vita Kuzmenko and Oksana Andriyanova, librarians from Kramatorsk, who died from Russians' bombing of the Kramatorsk railway station. But not only Putin is responsible for all these atrocities, for blood, for burned cities, for people's lives. All Russian society is responsible for this. In April, according to the non-government analytical center, Levada Center, more than 74% of Russians support this war. Russian librarians are also responsible for this. The majority of them are an integral part of the Russian military and totalitarian propaganda machine. They are responsible for brainwashing the Russian people and spreading disinformation and manipulation. Since 2014, they have continued to hold a library conference in the occupied Crimea. Russian society is the society that gave birth to Putin. That's why not only economic sanctions are needed. Russia must be isolated from the civilized world in all areas. We are grateful to the people and governments of all countries that support Ukraine. We are grateful for the support of the international library community and German librarians especially. Your support is very valuable to us. What about Ukrainian library and librarians? In these difficult times, Ukrainian librarians, together with all the Ukrainian people, are fighting for our independence against Russian aggression. And we have many serious challenges. Unfortunately, a lot of libraries are destroyed. We can see these pictures. The Ukrainian Library Association and the charitable foundation Library Country have launched a collection of data on the damage and losses of the libraries in this war. Now we have not many information, only about 30 cases, but we continue to collect the information through a form that can be filled out anyone and from other sources. Now we know about the damage in libraries in Kharkiv. These are the Central Scientific Library of Karazin Kharkiv National University. There is the Korolenko Kharkiv State Library, some public libraries, 46 school libraries in Kharkiv. In Chernihiv, City Central Library, Chernihiv City Children Library, Chernihiv Regional Library for Youth, Chernihiv Regional Universal Scientific Library, and others were destroyed by enemy Russian bombing. The same situation with Starobilsk and Severodonetsk and other cities and towns in Luhansk region. Scientific and Pedagogical Library of Mykolaiv, Library of Sumy State University, and other libraries in Sumy region. All libraries in Mariupol, Volnovakha, Bucha, Hostomel, Irpin, Borodyanka are destroyed because these cities are completely destroyed. Unfortunately, the number of such libraries increase every day. In these terrible conditions, Ukrainian librarians take care of their collections and provide library services. In regions where there are no active hostilities, libraries work as usual, serving users, holding various events, and they are working hard, as many new people have emerged. These are the so-called internally displaced persons from the regions which are under Russian occupation or bombing. Libraries are open to everyone. Most of the libraries in the areas where active hostilities are taking place are working online. They make video reviews of books, conduct online events, programming courses, language learning, and read books aloud. Some of them open only a couple of hours a week, so that readers can exchange books. In Kharkiv, libraries are serving in the subway. The subway now in Kharkiv is a home and a shelter for thousands of people. A lot of libraries, as well as the Library of Kyiv Polytechnic Institute, where I am a library director, provide all services both remotely and physically, and provide the full support for our users and for the educational process and research of our universities. Refuge relief points and bomb shelters are organized in libraries. In libraries, displaced persons are provided with informational assistance on settlement, registration with local self-government bodies, receipt of financial assistance, job search, and other issues related to the organization of their accommodation and adaptation. In many libraries, Ukrainian language courses are opened for these people. In libraries, various courses are held, including primary care, computer literacy, workshops for adult migrants and their children. There are psychological services where they can get free consultations from psychologists, art therapy, and bibliotherapy activities, which help people overcome the stresses of this war. And in addition, librarians are active in volunteering. They are making camouflage nets, for the armed forces and territorial defense, sewing Ukrainian flags and camouflage clothing, collecting products and forming food packages, cooking dumplings, making energy bars, collecting Ukrainian books for European libraries, sort out humanitarian aid, organized and direct volunteer flows. Today, Ukrainian libraries remain Islam's all hope and shelter for all who needs it. Each of the Ukrainian librarians brings our victory closer with her or his work. And now my colleagues will tell you their own story about their work, about their life. Thank you. Vielen Danke. Slava Ukraini.
Thank you very much, Oksana, for this insight and overview of the situation in libraries in the Ukraine. If you wish to raise any questions, please use the chat for that.
Дуже дякуємо Оксані за те, що вона розповіла про ситуацію з бібліотеками в Україні. Якщо у кого-небудь буде питання, будь ласка, можете задавати їх в чаті.
Thank you. We will move on now to the next speaker.
Ми запросимо зараз наступного мовця.
Yes, and I invite Irina Biryokova. She's the General Director of the Odessa National Scientific Library, and she will talk about the national heritage and armed conflicts, Ukrainian libraries in the protection of the world cultural legacy.
Я запрошую до слова пані Ірину Бірюкову з Одеської національної наукової бібліотеки, і вона розповість нам про те, як українські бібліотекарі зберігають культурний спадок в часи нападу на Україну.
Good morning, dear friends. Thank you for Barbara and Darina. And on behalf of Odessa National Scientific Library team and our readers community, I am thankful to the organizers of this meeting. Question, how are you now? And words of support from our colleagues around the world have become a marker of awareness and understanding of the scale of the problem faced not only by our professional environment. In the first days of the war, open posts on social networks and private messengers from my librarian friends rose like a powerful wave. They offered help, action, moral support, and most importantly, they gave a sense of common understanding of common challenges. Odessa, the current marine port of capital of Ukraine today, is full of threats. This doesn't allow us to become a safe haven for Ukrainians deprived of their homes as a result of hostilities in eastern and northern Ukraine, nor does it allow us to work under peaceful skies and rebuild the country's economy. From a professional point of view, this doesn't allow us to do our job well and fully. Most of the libraries in Odessa have only partially restored the service and visitors in library premises. Only for a few hours a day just to return and deliver books to readers or to hold a small meeting in quiet moments between shelling and air raids. By the way, one of the first to start working this was the Deutsche partner project of Odessa National Scientific Library with Goethe-Institut and Bayer House in Odessa. Thank you for our colleagues. Some information services are available online, but we understand that not all of our users are currently able to use them. However, this work is extremely important for all of us, because libraries are outposts of media literacy and protection of citizens' rights to access information and knowledge, and place of meeting and inspiration, a place where community power grows. Most of my colleagues and me haven't left Odessa. In the first place, because of the need to organize and ensure safety means of the library. Odessa National Scientific Library is the oldest public library in Ukraine, founded in 1929, and it holds more than 5 million collection of domestic and foreign documents in 100 languages, including rare books and manuscripts. All these are the integral part of documentary memory of our country, the priceless component of the world cultural heritage. In addition, a significant historical and architectural value is the library building itself, which is an architectural monument of national importance. No matter how strange it may sound now, compared to the risk of dying from the shelling, we did not know that then how terrible and destructive it could really be, and that the rocket attacks will soon kill civilians in Odessa. For me at that time was a much more important issue of library security and timely part payment of wages, which could financially support the families of library staff. In those days, we probably didn't quite realize the danger. A sense of duty prevailed. There was almost no time for reflection and hesitation. The most important priority was to strengthen the security of collection and library staff. It is still the main thing for me and my colleagues at the moment, because the shelling of Odessa continues and the level of dangers remains extremely high. Of course, our daily routine has changed. Every morning brings another day of treats to everything you love, everything you appreciate, your family and friends, your favorite city and your homeland. Every day you look for the answer to whether you have done enough to defend it, whether you have enough strength to keep doing it over and over again. Every day people in Ukraine are killed. And our hearts are full of pain for their lost lives. However, even of such days, I still have many reasons to be grateful to fate for what I experienced today. After all, every day I see strong-minded people, dedicated professionals, volunteers, defenders. Every day we learn about powerful acts of support from the international community. And every day I see manifestation of the strength of spirit of the people of Ukraine who continue to resist aggression. It also feels great gratitude to my colleagues who carry out their mission to provide book acquisition, information services to libraries users, participate in volunteer work. It adds strength and endurance. I must admit, third-left gratitude is accompanied by sharp notes of concern. Unfortunately, the list of damage of cultural heritage sites is constantly accompanied by new episodes recorded by the Ministry of Cultural and Information Policy of Ukraine of the national platform Cultural Crimes Go.ua. More than 300 monuments and cultural objects of Ukraine have been documented damaged or destroyed, and only the restoration of peace in Ukraine can stop this devastating impact of hostilities. This circumstance requires special attention to protect the heritage of Ukrainian culture, science and education. The war raises the question of the systematic protection of material and not material cultural heritage, the questions of our collective ability to prevent the destruction of cultural heritage. Public authorities, communities, and specialists make every effort to protect the people and cultural heritage of Ukraine. Auditing the security of collections, securing digital assets, providing access to them remotely is an urgent task and the responsibility of every librarian. In connection with the military aggression of the Russian Federation against Ukraine, public, sorry for my emotion, I stopped for a second. However, this is not the first time the library has been in a war zone, and we have some institutional experience gained during the Second World War, when librarians took various measures to protect collection and buildings, moving to safe place, building shelters, strengthening facilities, physical protection, etc. Partly this experience is useful to modern keepers, complemented by new modern technologies and security measures. We work closely with the Ministry of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine, which directs and coordinates our efforts. Regional bodies of state power and local self-government and the National Police of Ukraine contribute to strengthening the security of collection. The support of the professional community is in Ukraine, Ukrainian Library Association, and the professional community of the world is also extremely important, informational, methodological resource. We are grateful of ELIF Foundation, the International Alliance for the Protection of Heritage in Conflict, and Odessa-based NGO Museum for Change, which a significant number of museums and libraries have been able to benefit from grants from. Thanks to this support, the Team Odessa National Scientific Library was strengthened with fire and civil protection, as well as materials to secure the documentary collection and library buildings. Odessa-based Museum for Change is not only responsive to our needs, but also did not refuse our request to support our Kharkiv colleagues. The building of Kharkiv State Scientific Library, one of the oldest and largest in Europe, its collection is more than 7 million documents, which is a monument of history, architecture, and urban planning, has been significantly damaged. The blast damaged facades, windows, interior doors, and a room lantern. Heating system. Book depositories suffer the most from this damage, and there are high risk of violating the correct temperature, humidity, light, and sanitary remarks. Thanks to the volunteer help of the public organization, Museum for Change, and the financial support of the Ali Foundation, the library received the necessary materials to temporarily secure the unique collection. That is why it is extremely important to stand with Ukrainian libraries, librarians, and library association. Thank you for everyone in Germany who are helping with spreading true information. Everyone who provides and engaged humanitarian support. We thank all those who take all possible political and diplomatic measures to oppose aggression, protect the rights of Ukrainian citizens, restore territorial integrity, influence the views of national leaders and institutions of the world, to make louder demands to immediately stop using force against the people of Ukraine, the culture of Ukraine. We thank our German colleagues for every step in supporting our defense and struggle for the future. We are grateful for your unwavering support. The whole world rediscovered Ukraine, strong, free, unconquered. Thank you for standing with Ukraine.
Thank you very much, Irina, for your speech. Thank you.
Ірино, дуже вдячні вам за промову.
Дякую за переклад.
Thank you for translation.
I would like now to invite our third speaker,
Я б хотіла дати слово нашому третьому мовцю.
Which is Professor Dr. Oleg Serbin. He's a board member and chair of the University Library section of the Ukrainian Library Association.
Це буде Олег Сербін, який представлятиме також Українську бібліотечну асоціацію.
And he's the director of the Maximovich Scientific Library of Taras Shevchenko National Library of Kyiv.
Він також є директором бібліотеки Максимовича, а це наукова бібліотека Київського національного університету імені Тараса Шевченка.
Yeah, Oleg, the floor is yours.
Будь ласка, Олег, запрошуємо вас до слова.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, maybe good day, dear colleagues. First of all, I would like to thank you all for the invitation to participate in this event. It is my honor and a big pleasure to present my short report. One moment, University Libraries of Ukraine during the Russian invasion. One moment. Видно, да? Це нормально. Yes. The reorganization of ordinary life in accordance with the demands of wartime affected all segments of Ukrainian society without exception, including universities and libraries. The Maximovich Scientific Library of the Taras Shevchenko National University of Kyiv is a scientific and methodical center that provides general methodical guidance and coordination of libraries of higher education institution of Ukraine. Despite the difficult times that our country is going through, we work as usual and continue to provide users with a full range of information and library service. The methodical department of our library is trying to keep in touch with the directors of the libraries of the occupied territories by email and by phone as far as possible. Sending letters, this department tries to inform libraries and maintain communication. On the library's website, the scientific and methodological department's information, the university libraries network, about the approval of actual decrees of the President of Ukraine, resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers, the Ministry of Education and Science, the Ministry of Economy, and the Ministry of Health. The work of the university repository with a part of our library functions was also organized. Next slide. During the war, the work of librarians not only remaining useful, but also gained new importance for supporting readers with books. The demand for books among studies and teachers of the Taras Shevchenko National University of Kyiv has remained. On a full-time basis, they continue to service users with both scientific and educational literature, as well as provide them this information and advisory assistance. It's also highly important during the war to record the chronicle of current events and to form a source base for its following practical use. This work is carried out by Information and Bibliographic Department of the Maximov Scientific Library. It provides daily analytical reviews of internet publications in periodics about Russian aggression. In particular, attack on military and civilian infrastructure, resistance of Ukraine and the reaction of the world community to these events. Those reviews are available on the library website. All the collected materials will be significant evidence of Russian armed aggression and crimes against humanity. We hope it will be a benefit to future generations. Services of information monitoring of our library track the effectiveness of the presentation of scientific achievements of university research and teaching staff in the global information space. It generated monthly digest of the publication that appear in the world periodicals with the highest site scopus and impact factor Web of Science core collection. In addition, service information monitoring continue to provide DOI, Digital Object Identifier, registration service for the publication of university scientific journals and conference materials. We implement the approach of providing our audience with quality and relevant content. In particular, our marketing and promotion department continues to inform readers and colleagues of social networks, Facebook and Instagram, about actual new and current results of activities in the library. We also present a virtual exhibition of books on current topics. Despite the time, we continue the international cooperation with other universities and libraries. As part 2 months, our librarians have taken part in Meeting a voice from Ukrainian librarians in the struggle against the Russian invasion. Hosted by University of California, Berkeley, USA. Working meeting of providing free remote access to British library resource, hosted by the University of Edinburgh, United Kingdom. Online forum Ukrainian librarians in the fight against Russian invasion, hosted by Georgia Library Association, Georgia. Project Ukrainian Book in Croatia, providing the Ukrainian community abroad with literature from our library exchange fund. Press conference, cultural project, supply of books to the counters of temporarily displaced residents of Ukraine in Montenegro and Poland. Victory Gardens is a project initiated by President Volodymyr Zelensky, which recommended to maximize the potential of Ukrainian fertile soils. Part of the land plot in the courtyard of our library, we planted with vegetables used for cooking borscht. We also called on all departments of the university and other libraries in Ukrainian to join this initiative. Yes. Once again, we have continued our long studying project book, Trees, which I'm collecting aid for the patients at the National Children Specialized Hospital Ohmedid. This time we handed over books and stuffed toys from our British partners to the children. The description of Sullivan infrastructure in the areas where the fighting content continues touched university libraries too. Primarily the place to large city with particularly intense shelling, where significant part of educational, scientific, and cultural institution is concentrated. For example, the Central Scientific Library of Kazan National University of Kharkiv was damaged. Librarians in Kharkiv, Donetsk, Luhansk, and part of Kiev region were forced to flee their working place because of the bombing of their buildings or the complete discretion of higher educational institution. As a result, Vladimir Dal East Ukrainian National University in Severodonetsk, Luhansk State Medical University in Rubizhne, and others have moved to more safe regions of Ukraine. Only a small proportion of university libraries have been able to switch to remote work and provide their service online from time to time. Most of them cannot work due to damaged library service. Librarians of higher educational institutions in Western Ukraine continue to perform different types of planned and current work. Many librarians from regions without Ignite join volunteering center and actively collect aid for servicemen of the armed forces and internally displaced persons. University librarians of Lviv, Chernivtsi, Lutsk, Rivne, Mukachevo, and other cities collect and sort food, clothing, and essentials, prepare food, make camouflage nets for the militaries, offer leisure for the displaced children, organize training on first aid, send Ukrainian language books to refugees abroad, and provide temporary shelter to the colleagues evacuated from dangerous regions. For example, the Scientific Library of the Ivan Franko National University of Lviv has organized a volunteer center for humanitarian support for meeting the need of the armed force and the residents of affected region. The public initiative Central Heritage Center, Cultural Heritage Center, was established in the scientific, the technical library of the National University Lviv Polytechnic for collection for equipment and materials from foreign partners and patrons for the protection and preservation of historical and cultural monuments, religious buildings, and museum collection throughout Ukraine. Employees of the Scientific Library of Danilo Haletsky University of Lviv compile bibliographic indexes of the actual topic of the problem of emergency military surgery, post-traumatic and stress disorders, Scientific Library of Mukachevo State University organized events with children of refugees and started the collection of food for Ukrainian children in the Czech Republic. Crossing is also organized for refugees. It also was mentioned that some employees of Ukrainian university libraries, including of our library, have been mobilized and now are serving in the armed forces of Ukraine. As we see, the Ukrainian library community works in difficult conditions and continue to do everything possible for the common goal of defeating the Russian aggression. Thank you, dear colleagues.
Thank you very much, Oleg, for your presentation, which gives really good insight into the world of the university libraries right now in your country.
Олеже, дуже дякуємо вам за презентацію і за те, що розповіли, як зараз ведеться університетським бібліотекам в Україні.
Thank you. I would like to invite now our next speaker.
Я б хотіла запросити, дати слово нашому наступному мовцю.
Svetlana Moiseva, she's the vice president of the Ukrainian Library Association.
Це буде віце-президентка Української бібліотечної асоціації Світлана Моїсеєва.
And she's also the director of the Luhansk Regional Scientific University Library.
Вона також є директоркою Луганської обласної бібліотеки.
Yeah, Svetlana, over to you.
Світлано, запрошуємо вас до слова.
Hello, everyone. I want to glad to see you, and I want to thank our German colleagues to invite this meeting. And I want to tell about public library in Ukraine in Bhutan. Just a moment, I will share the screen. Are you see? Yeah? No? And now?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Since beginning of the Russian invasion, the Ukrainian public libraries, in addition to their traditional functions, have introduced non-conventional activities and joined the struggle against the enemy. And I want to talk about their work and circumstances in which they found themselves in February this year.
Не рухається, прокручуй, може, мишкою. Є, да, третій, це далеко вже зайшло.
Almost of public library became centers of weaving camouflage nets, and such situation not only big library, such a small library. Librarian actively involved in volunteering. Such activities as collection and transferring money and things in support of the Ukrainian army and migrants. The provision of housing for migrants and assistance in organizing their placement in humanitarian help centers take place in our libraries. Such activity take place, as I said, in both the small and large libraries in Ukraine. Librarians prepare food for hospitals and humanitarian help centers. Kyiv librarian public libraries saw flag for the front line for Ukrainian army. Some libraries transform their spaces and started to work as volunteer centers, where they not only wave camouflage net, but also saw balaclavas, saw things saw clothes for the territorial defense forces, and collect food and other help for migrants and soldiers of Ukrainian army. You can see in this picture Rivne Library for Youth. its library work both as a volunteer hub and as an improvised workshop for making delicacies for soldiers, and as a playground for children and youth and adult people. Also, public libraries take care of the mental balance of their users and migrants. Morning yoga for them is offered at Zakarpatska Regional Universal Scientific Library. And as Oksana said, the Mykolaiv Children's Library to protect their users, and sometimes they organize events directly in the bomb shelter. I want to tell about story of my library, Lugansk Regional Scientific Universal Library. Has unusual story. In February this year, after Russian invasion, we found ourselves in occupation. It is Starobilsk, Lugansk region. And it was the second time for our library. For the first time, we were under occupation in 2014. That year, our library worked in Lugansk, and after the occupied Lugansk by Russian Federation, quasi-republic established there, and the management of our library left their library, left their home, and left Lugansk. We didn't not give up then, and in 2015 we resumed the work of our library in the territory of Lugansk region controlled by Ukraine. That year it was Starobilsk town, not a big town, not a big city, but we started our work again, and during the 7 years we organized library work. We organized library space, new library space. Unfortunately, this year we had to leave our homes for second time, and finding ways to preserve the library and not lose touch with our users. As most of our librarians left Starobilsk city and evacuated to Ukraine-controlled territory, we were named, as you see, we were named as Wandering Library and started to work remotely. Now our librarians situated in 7 different places in Ukraine. We establish our work using online communication. In fact, each of our library team members do their work tasks and projects in the place where they are. This is difficult. I would say, this sad experience for us, but at the same time, it is a challenge for us, and we accepted this challenge as it was in 2014. Now we are forming a new model of library work, a new model of teamwork, and a new model of communicate with our users and with our partners. We keep in touch with our users and partners. More of them evacuated too, as they are our librarians. it's so important for them to keep in touch with each other, communicate with like-minded people, and our library took this role on itself. Now we work as a communication hub between members of communities that format about library and waiting for victory. I want to say in the end on my speech that when we opened in pre-situation, we finding new ways for development, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult, but our librarians, sorry, I have some emotion. Our librarians is very strong people. We win, glory Ukraine, and thank you, our German colleagues, for your support, for your understanding our situation, for support Ukrainian people and Ukrainian library. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Svetlana, for your very impressive report on your situation. And yes, librarians in the Ukraine are very, very strong.
Світлана, дуже дякуємо вам за інформацію, за такий огляд ситуації. І так, українські бібліотекарі – це надзвичайно сильні бібліотекарі.
I would now like to move on to our next speaker, Yaroslava Sosinska. She's the executive director from the Ukrainian Library Association, and she will give us an insight on the Ukrainian Library Association at the forefront of the struggle.
Зараз перейдемо, дамо слово наступному мовцю. Це буде Ярослава Сошинська. Вона є виконавчою директоркою Української бібліотечної асоціації. Запрошуємо до слова. Ярослава, вас не чути.
Dear colleagues, I would like to provide you with some general information about the Ukrainian Library Association. In 2021, the association united more than 4,300 individual members who are employed in national, public, academic, school and special libraries, education and cultural institutes, local authorities and business. And the ULA has 14 regional chapters and about 100 official partners with representation in all regions of Ukraine. During the war, the work of the Presidium and the Executive Office of the Ukrainian Library Association was reformatted, and we continue to fulfill our main tasks of a professional organization. It means we take care of membership, keep in touch with our members and partners through the ULA web portal, social networks, and emailing. We have moved some of our important annual international conferences to our victory, but we hold professional webinars, including with foreign partners. Also, we had to change the emphasis of the ULA work plan for 2022. After all, innovative models of library activities in peacetime and wartime look different. But we promote another library innovations such as services for migrants, new form of combating misinformation, support the cyber troop of Ukraine, bibliotherapy for war victims, including children, expansion and coordination of social, humanitarian, volunteer work for the needs of armed forces and territorial defense, and others. Our communication with foreign partners has significantly increased. Every day we receive many letters of support, proposals for cooperation and assistance to librarians in Ukraine and those who are forced to flee the war abroad. We are absolutely convinced that only uniting we can stop the war and stop death. Therefore, we have appealed to our partners, members of the International Federation, Library Associations and Institutions, and the World Library community to ask their governments for military assistance to Ukraine and stop any cooperation with Russian Federation, to ask their government to officially ban or at least recommend to stop providing the scientific information resources for Russian Federation, to stop all professional connections, common projects with libraries, educational and cultural institutions of the Russian Federations and representatives of these institutions, to ask the international organization to exclude all Russian institutions from its members and their representatives from governing boards, to fight against disinformation and to overspread the truth about this war. And we are extremely grateful to the management and members of the German Library Association for your reasoned, direct and firm position in these issues. And also a big thank to our longtime partners from Goethe-Institut in Ukraine. Even before war, Ukrainian libraries were engaged in digitizing their collections. With the beginning of the war, the need to preserve electronic library catalogs, digital collections, websites, and other digital resources became very urgent. Here again, foreign partners from national libraries, universities, and commercial organizations, as well as from Germany, came to our aid, offering free volunteer help and their own service to store information from Ukraine. In this direction, we cooperate with project Saving Ukrainian Cultural Heritage Online and community-supported preservation archive Portico. We also liaise with representatives of IFLA and UNESCO. Despite active hostilities, constant shelling, bombing, and missile attacks that have destroyed many libraries in Ukraine, we are already preparing to rebuilding of Ukrainian towns and libraries. So the Ukrainian Library Association accepts donations from librarians, library associations, and libraries worldwide. We highly appreciate the initiative of American Library Association and other institutions to raise funds for rebuilding and reconstruction of Ukrainian libraries and supporting library services during and after Russian aggression. Together with the charitable foundation Library Country, we have created a fund to provide financial assistance to librarians who find themselves in these difficult wartime circumstances. We have already received more than 300 requests for financial support, but fund was able to provide assistance only to 150 librarians. They and their families, mostly children, used these small amounts for temporary rent, medicines, clothes, food, and other necessary things. In addition to the destruction and damage of libraries, we now have significant challenges in serving internally displaced people from the regions where the fighting is taking place. For instance, libraries do not have enough computers to meet the need of displaced people in communication with relatives, job seeking, online learning, etc. So we think about using the funds raised from purchasing computers, software, and other equipment to meet these needs, as well as purchasing resources to help them overcome stress for children and adults. Donations can be done in hryvnias and foreign currency, and all bank details you may find on the Ukrainian Library Association web portal, Facebook page, or ask from us by email. And therefore, the activities of the Ukrainian Library Association are currently very intensive, and we are extremely grateful to our colleagues from all over the world for their kind support. And special thanks to friends and colleagues from Germany who are doing a great work to help Ukrainians in this cruel war. Ukrainians have an invincible strength of spirit, and together with you, dear friends and reliable partners, we are winning. Thank you for your attention. Glory to Ukraine. Slava Ukraini.
Thank you very much, Yaroslava, for your presentation.
Ярослава, дуже дякуємо вам за презентацію.
Our next speaker now, just on time, is Olaf Hamann. He is the head of the Eastern Europe department in the State Library in Berlin, and he will give us a brief overview of the Cultural Property Protection Network in Germany.
Наступним нашим спікером, який якраз вчасно доєднався, буде Олаф Хаман. Це голова відділу, який відповідає за Східну Європу Державної бібліотеки у Берліні. І він розповість нам про мережу захисту культурної спадщини у Німеччині. Будь ласка, Олафе, надаємо вам слово.
Dear colleagues, good morning, dobry ranok. I'm very proud that we meet today here, and I'm grateful for all the Ukrainian colleagues for the reports you made to the colleagues in Germany. I think it will be very helpful to better understanding of the situation in your country and to organize help for your country. I must say I've been studying in Soviet time in Moscow and have been visiting Kiev since 1986 many times, and many other cities in Ukraine, and I could never have imagined that there once would be war between former Soviet Republic, but the Russian side proved that my emphasis was not right, and I'm very sorry for this. But the shock I felt the 24th of February this year did not paralyze me, but it led to activity. And the very day I got in contact to colleagues in Kiev and offered them our support. I know that many German colleagues from the very first moment supported colleagues in Ukraine, and that's why it was necessary to bring all our efforts together. And I'm very thankful my colleagues in the German National Library and in the Coordination Office for the Preservation of Written Cultural Heritage, with a shorter abbreviation, KEK, that we could unite our efforts and now coordinate our help for the Ukrainian libraries. The first step we made was to collect packaging materials and other materials that were of need for Ukrainian libraries, and we delivered what was available in German libraries. But German libraries are not so good prepared for catastrophic situations, and that's why it was only one cargo that went to Ukraine. But we are now collecting more materials, and we coordinate our help in two directions. The first direction is that we hold contact to Ukrainian librarians, to the Ukrainian Library Association, and ask the colleagues in Ukraine what help is needed and what shall we do to help the Ukrainian librarians. The other side of our help is to bring together the offers from German libraries and for material help, and to organize transport of all these materials to Ukraine. Of course, we have to follow some rules, and not always these rules help us for fast help for Ukrainian librarians. We have changed many information on logistics and transport matters, and we have to solve all these transport matters. We have to prepare custom declarations and toll, and bring all the help together in a European framework. And in this time of war in Ukraine, we feel that we are poorly prepared, and we are now confronted with laws and rules that were made for a peacetime. And that's why to follow all these rules takes quite a long time, but we try to fasten every step in cooperation with our colleagues from administrations and libraries and in German ministries. Please, dear colleagues, when you need help, please tell us about this. Tell me, write me a letter on email, what help is needed. I'm in everyday contact with my colleagues in the German National Library, and we will do our best to organize what is necessary and to bring it to Ukraine as fast as possible. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your information about the situation in the Ukraine. I think we will go on with our work to support you. Thank you.
Thank you, Olaf Hamann. Thank you very much. We have now a further speaker from the German National Library, who will also briefly explain about the activities here in Germany to help Ukrainian libraries. She's called Stephanie Preuss, and she's there. I can see her. Hello, Stephanie, the floor is yours.
Hi, hello. Sorry,
please wait, give me a chance to translate. Thank you. У нас є ще один мовець, який доєднався до нас трошки так несподівано. Це пані Штефані Пройс. Barbara, I'm sorry, could you please repeat what is the role of Stephanie?
Maybe she just tells us directly what her role is in the National Library. Stephanie Preuss, can you just say your role in the National Library?
Yes, I'm the head of preservation in the National Library, and I'm also very close with Olaf Hamann, working for supporting the Ukraine libraries for cultural heritage help for protection.
Пані Штефані відповідає за збереження бібліотечного спадку. І надаємо їй слово, so I give the word to you.
Thank you. I will just briefly summarize what Olaf already has said. I'm sorry, my voice is a bit, I just had an infection last week, so I hope you can hear me well. Can you? Okay, thank you. We are in connection with the German other organizations trying to help Ukraine, and we collect material in different parts in Germany in order to bring it to the Ukraine. And these are all kinds of materials, from cardboard to boxes to all kinds of protection materials for cultural heritage. And it's important, if you have very urgent needs, to tell Olaf or me to write an email what you need exactly for protection, for cultural protection heritage, and we try to get it into the Ukraine as fast as possible. So there's a lot of networking going on within Germany, and as Olaf has said, there are lots of things we have to follow for German law, unfortunately, which is sometimes a bit complicated, but we try our best. And so I don't want to spend so much time, but just let us know what you need, and we will try to get it as fast to the Ukraine, in addition with also the archives in Germany. And we have emergency groups which are actually trained for water damage and catastrophes, but we use all these structures for bringing material in the Ukraine. Yeah, Thank you. That's a very, very brief summarize, but yeah, that's the most important thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie Preuss. Thank you.
Штефані, дуже вам дякуємо.
We have now a couple of minutes for some questions, and we saw already a lot of communication going on the chat, and some of the questions raised were also answered on the chat.
If you don't mind, I will give a quick summary of questions. Я коротко розповім, які у нас були запитання. There was a question from Anna Bon about IFLA plans for World Congress 2022 on the situation of Ukrainian libraries. Було питання про Всесвітній бібліотечний конгрес IFLA у 2022 році в Дубліні. Чи буде там висвітлена ситуація в Україні? And this question was already answered. І на це запитання вже була відповідь в чаті, і вона також є перекладена.
Якщо можна, я додатково відповім на це запитання.
I want to give some additional information.
Ми не мали контактів з IFLA саме щодо участі і спеціального якогось заходу на цьому конгресі. Тобто Українська бібліотечна асоціація не контактувала і не маємо жодних контактів саме з цього питання.
Ukrainian Library Association wasn't in touch with the IFLA specifically about the questions about the organization of any events that have to explain Ukrainian situation and situation of Ukrainian libraries.
Але ми тісно співпрацюємо з Клер Магуайр, яка очолює підрозділ IFLA з збереження культурної спадщини.
But we are in close touch with Claire Maguire, who is head of preservation of cultural heritage in IFLA.
І саме в цьому напрямі контактуємо і активності. І вона збиралася писати статтю в IFLA журналі чи на блозі щодо українських бібліотек.
We keep in touch in this regard, on the regard of cultural heritage, and she was going to write an article and publish it on the topic of Ukrainian libraries.
Thank you. Yes, and we also saw on the chat that there will be an event being organized by the European Regional Division Committee. They are planning, obviously, also presentations on the situation of the libraries. Yeah. There's another question about opinion books. This, I think, our website, because we collected information on how to get some books, but more information is needed here. Certainly help us, and also maybe State Library. But we have a list of recommended books, and is also some books available online already.
Стосовно того, де можна взяти українські книжки, це запитують наші німецькі колеги, і пані Барбара пояснила коротко, але загалом цим займається Німецька бібліотечна асоціація.
And a question, and I would like to ask Oksana Yaroslav.
Запитання спрямоване до Ярослави.
Yeah, what would you think of the sister city projects, where communities are forming partnerships and with the also all libraries? This could now or find.
Це про те, щоб співпрацю, проєктну співпрацю між нами, тобто таке братерство або сестринство, тому що коли то відповідно це між різними бібліотеками.
Дуже хороша ініціатива, і ми, звичайно, за таку ініціативу. Наскільки тому міста сестри, чи, як правильно сказати, Київ і Мюнхен.
We are very we will be very happy with the initiative. As far as I know, our food. This is a very good initiative.
So we could follow this up. There is also in the European an initiative for sister libraries, and we can promote this much stronger.
Розвивати цей проєкт сильніше. В Неаполі організація, яка також займається такими або сестринськими проєктами між різними бібліотеками.
Це не це абревіатура організації.
Добре. Did you mean the city or?
No, this is the name of the organization. Yes, it's very confusing. That's right.
Так, не Неаполі, а ще є одна, яка цим займається. Перепрошуємо.
Тут є питання, я не знаю прочитати прізвище. Які конкретні
cooperation with of protecting Ukrainian cultural heritage other today, if there are any specific results, any concrete results.
Можу наразі сказати про два таких результати. Перший – це те, що я брала участь у засіданні ЮНЕСКО збереження культурної в Україні.
As far as I'm concerned, there are two specific results. First result was invited IFLA sessions of preserving.
І розповідав про бібліотеки, які страждають і яких під загрозою.
I have on Ukrainian libraries were endangered or which were destroyed by aggression.
І другим разі ми співпрацюємо над спільним проектом. Можливо, він буде, тобто кілька організацій і можливо інші якісь нації для підтримки зі створення національної цифрової бібліотеки.
And another project, another result we and I are working on, it's the project that means to library Ukraine. And in stage, maybe there will be participating organizations, maybe some donations will come, etc., etc.
Тобто це якийсь прямо конкретний результат, що спадщина збереже, але це важливо, тому що український уряд, ми за 30 створити національну цифрову бібліотеку.
This is a very out, but it is out because in 30 years Ukraine managed to create this Ukrainian digital.
І шанс і хороша нам вдасться це зробити.
Good chance and a good that we will succeed in.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you very much. And we are now out of time a little bit. I hope
наразі закінчується час.
That we were able insight with your presentations, what is going on, and also give some ideas of what we can do.
Ця зустріч, вона зробить, скільки ми можемо вам допомогти, в чому з того, що ми бачили в ваших презентаціях. І сподіваємося, що будуть якісь хороші ідеї.
I pass on to the final close. I would also like personally thank you very, very much for the work you're doing in the Ukraine under these circumstances. And please be assured that we are standing.
Перше, ніж я передам, також хотіла б сказати всім нашим українським колегам велике спасибі, що ви робите зараз за таких важких умов і нашій підтримці. Ми підтримуємо вас і ми на вашому боці.
Andreas, the floor is yours now.
Yes, thank you, Barbara.
Передаю слово Андреасу.
Yes, we have to thank all the speakers for their presentation and reports about the situation in your country. We have to thank all the organizers who make this event.
По-перше, усім мовцям, які і дуже дякую. Також я надзвичайно вдячна, які доклали руку до того, щоб ця зустріч була можлива.
It's really amazing what you are doing times.
Те, що ви робите за цих воєнних часів, це просто неймовірно.
And of course, we hope the courage and your energy is very necessary in your situation. You in this situation.
І те, що ви знаходите в собі сили, мужність, енергію для того, щоб справлятися з цією ситуацією, надихає також і нас. Ми сподіваємося, що ми також даємо якусь енергію і якось до того докладаємось.
We continue to keep and we keep you in your mind.
Ми залишаємося з вами на зв'язку і ми думаємо.
Stay safe and stay well.
Залишатися в безпеці і бажаю вам всього найкращого. Дуже дякую.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
І бажаю вам всього найкращого.
Thank you, Darina, for translating.
Дуже дякую Дарині за переклад.
Darina, you did a great job. Thank you.
Yes.
Also thank everyone who participated in this meeting. It was a pleasure. Було приємно допомогти вам і послухати вас.
Щиро дякую.
Sincere thanks.
До нових зустрічей, колеги.
Dear colleagues, we hope to see you soon.
І запрошую до Галиної Одеси, коли буде під мирним небом проводити. Ми будемо раді бачити усіх вас в Одесі і дякуємо за вашу підтримку.
When once again we will meet under peaceful sky in Odessa, we will our next meetings and we will be very happy to see you there.
Auf Wiedersehen.